Alright guys, listen. We're going to roll off of yesterday's video with the ImAllexx's situation, which, by the way, of course I went into that video skeptical, but by the middle, I'm flabbergasted. He's quite possibly one of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen when it comes to him being as a person, of course. Not his content. We already know that's not good. No, but as a person, he's a bad person, man. Like, that was impressive. It was almost impressive how much of a terrible person is. Good for the girl for getting herself out of that situation before a year was over. And, yeah, God bless to her. Anyway, when we talk about these types of situations, sometimes there's a little bit of a past we can cover to have a little bit of fun with. See what they were like before. And August said, hey, you should make this an original sin video. We did it with Vosh. We did it with, I think, Mama Max. We've done it before. So let's take a look at this. This is from Turkey Tom, funny enough. I've been looking at a lot of his stuff lately. It's a few years old, but it's called Slazo's Accusers. Electric Boogaloo. Interesting title. So yeah, let's, I think, my understanding, and I don't know too much about it, but people were telling me that he leveraged a false accusation against one of his best friends because he was jealous of them doing too well. I don't know how true that is. That's just the general little, that, you know, what people have generally said. And so I want to take a look at it. Like you guys, I always say, if any moment of the video resonates with you, timestamp it down below. I love you. Let's get this party started.
Start this video off by saying that it deals with rather sensitive topics like sexual abuse and rape. If that bothers
too many words
you, which is completely understandable, then I would not recommend going any further than that.
Wow, Tom has a very feminine voice here, or young voice. I don't know why I said feminine. Okay.
Additionally, please do not attack or harass any of the people mentioned in this video. It will include some rather harsh criticism, but that doesn't mean you should send hate to any of the parties involved. Now to the video.
What a nice guy.
I wanted to make a video regarding the situation.
By the way, I have no idea who Slazo is. Okay, I'm not a big, I'm not the internet historian here. All right.
A lot of the
we are casual observers of drama.
things being said are just blatantly untrue, and this makes me sound like a monster, and if it did happen, I would be a monster. I guess the thing I'm most confused about in this whole thing is why would she lie?
Why I haven't been posting and what's been going on. Okay.
Good things. Got a lemonade with took a
Wow, okay.
with a
Is this music? Is this DMCA?
come on, follow along, feel the group and get yourself to move. Get your ass to the dance floor.
Oh, yeah, look at this guy. Oh, if only we knew he was going to grow up to be one of the biggest piles of shit ever. Oh, he's such a bad person. It's actually almost like it's shocking. It's shocking with all the false allegations going on YouTube. It's insane that this guy's, from everything we've seen, is not false. I couldn't imagine. The only way for him to get exonerated is if Doctor Strange could go back in time and change the actual course of fucking history. And that was the cringiest reference I've ever made in my life. And I don't care.
I said, get your ass to the dance floor. Come on.
It'd be terrible if I had to cut all this out for DMCA, huh?
Grab it.
Okay.
Hello, hello, hello. We are tonight's entertainment. Bippity boppity boopity. Here's the fucking scoopity. As for this current drama, let's meet the players.
Incredible. I wasn't even on this platform 4 years ago. This is wild.
Stay with me here as it'll all come together in a bit. Slazo, YouTube commentator who used to make videos about Jake Paul, turned Reddit channel who makes videos where he reads off of Reddit. We've talked...
Listen, there's a lot of robust careers that are created off of just reading Reddit posts, so it is what it is. Does he still make content? SLAZO. Does he still make content on his channel? Or did he disappear after this? Oh no, it seems like he disappeared after this. Whatever happened here seems to have broken him.
Talked about him before on the Chicken Chad show, but that was about his content, which is completely unrelated to today's tale. Che, Twitter artist with plenty of connections in the YouTube community, namely among commentators and other teenage Twitter artists,
Is that a swan?
as well as being Slazo's ex-girlfriend, and the entire commentary community. But predominantly, the Reddit crew, comprised of King Ani, a parent Turkish soft girl who is super nice and totally not faking her constant genial attitudes for E-fame, Blues Den,
Wow, we're getting into some lore that is just weird.
Hank, British trap, reformed cyberbully, and terrible content creator, the Mimi Man himself, and Weast, uncivilized internet ape and cultural degenerate. There are plenty of
What is this?
smaller players
It's like a look into a time capsule.
involved, but those are the big unbased men in the house today. And of course, there's me and my associates, Pimpsy, Slacker TV, and Turkey Tom Jay Aubrey. Now that we've met our
Okay, I know Jay Aubrey.
test and my associates, Pimpsy, Slacker TV, and Turkey Tom Jay.
Wow, Jay Aubrey at this point only had 165,000 subscribers. Now I think he has 10 billion. He's done very well for himself.
Aubrey. Now that we've met our contestants, let's set the stage. On June 10th, Shay posted a tweet reading,
"Why I haven't been posting and what's been going on."
the post detailed
Is that AI?
how she had been, in her eyes, abused by Slazo, or Michael as we can also call
Okay.
him, during a relationship that they had which had begun in 2016 and ended in 2017. While the entire thing could be read in full, we'll just give you the highlights.
Yeah, I don't need. If I want, yeah, who cares? It's fucking 4 years old.
I had recently been hearing some comments from mutuals and friends that Slazo had been acting strange and had made some people uncomfortable, and I
Shit, I make people uncomfortable all the time, man.
needed to speak
It's because I'm a weird guy. Just weird.
out. I have been silent about this. For almost 3 years now, after a lot of consideration and talking to my closest friends along with considering police involvement, I have decided to come out.
Wow, police involvement, huh?
During our time together, Michael was incredibly demanding of sexual favors and would often guilt or force me into situations to which I was not comfortable. We lived 3 hours away from each other by train, so most of the time it was our only contact. I had expressed to Michael that I would rather wait until I was 16 to have sex, which in the end never happened. Michael, on our first date,
Okay.
touched me in a cinema despite me never kissing someone before. I
What? They touched you at the cinema? What does that even mean?
assumed this was normal, although I was
Yeah, it is, no? I mean, you're in like an intimate space with the cinema, you go for a kiss from your girl, and then she doesn't, you know, maybe she's not into it because she's a little nervous. Okay.
uncomfortable by it and let it happen. Our second date was much of the same, him asking me for a blowjob and trying to undo my bra in a public park. Again, I was uncomfortable. There were many times that I would say no or even cry, and I was never taken seriously, and he would move my hands to touch himself while I cried, or touched me.
Oh, wow,
Michael
okay.
controlled almost every aspect of my life, and I was reduced to thinking I was nothing more than a sex object. This was my first relationship, and my first example of what I was to believe a relationship to be. I lost a lot of my friends, opportunities, and time because of what happened, and I don't want this to happen to someone else.
And at the end of the tweet longer, there's an imager link
It sounds like it, well, it sounds like what she's saying is not very good, I guess, but okay.
with plenty of screenshots to back up her statements. The tweet longer, combined with the screenshots, spread like wildfire. Likes were in abundance, plenty of people retweeted it, and seemingly every little boy and girl under the sun came out in support of Che, and to condemn Michael, of course. Hundreds of YouTubers came out publicly.
So what is it, what I mean, we're going to find that out, but like, what is it that they found out? That she just lied? Like, absolutely, like, legitimately just lied about what was going on in the relationship? Did she fake screenshots?
Against him. Too many to count, honestly. They were very open about their distaste for Slazo. Then came the videos, of course, with flashy
Well, I mean, of course, it's like one of those things where, oh, I don't like this guy and I want a reason to go after him. And then somebody comes forward. It's like, oh, see, I knew he was a bad guy. And you start filtering all your past experiences through this perception of the person, you know, which I guess if they were a bad person, maybe makes sense. But
thumbnails, and oh my, was there a lot of them.
Here he's starting to paint a picture that he is a destructive person in this relationship. Very manipulative.
So on this screenshot right here,
Jesus Christ.
Blazer says, "Alright, I'm sorry, I want sex more than you can provide it." And
It's okay. I try to provide it when I can. I'm sorry about how sleepy and tired I got. It's fine. It's just like I want sex so much all the time. Just to be clear, that's not really an inappropriate messaging to have, as long as they're within like a reasonable age range, which doesn't seem to be an issue. It's okay if one person wants a lot more sex and it's like, yeah, I think I want sex more than you can provide it. Like, that's fine. It depends on how they say that. If they're saying that to shame the person, that's one thing. If they're saying that as just like a, you know, I want more sex, or maybe we should move on because I have a higher sex drive than you, that's fine. Like, that by itself doesn't really mean anything. Just to be clear, sex is a big part of a relationship. And different people have different sexual appetites. So if you don't have a sexual compatibility, then it's not going to work out. And that's an okay thing to happen, you know?
then you go down below, and he also says, "It's fine, it's just like, I want sex so much all the time."
Most now deleted, but don't worry, we downloaded them.
which truly show the disturbing extent of his abuse.
Slazo has admitted to what he has done, ladies and gentlemen. This is no longer a situation that you can say that the screenshots are fake.
Behind the scenes, me and the rest of my
Who the fuck are these people?
proletariat compatriots were hard at work, archiving, downloading, and screenshotting.
Damn, these guys really fucking sat here and did all that. That's interesting.
Rest assured, we and the rest of the YouTube community congregating on Twitter fucking got him. Right from the start, this all seemed rather dodgy for a number of reasons. The first being vagueness. Most of these statements are rather vague, and most lack proof. The few specific instances that she does mention tend to have a few screenshots.
I'll become less horny after a little bit and be able to think straight again. And also, if it happens again and you try to show on or something, I'll probably say I won't be able to focus. Ignore that. This is cringe. Eventually it'll die down. All right, baby, I love you. I'm glad you're not scared of me. Of course, I have such a good girlfriend. It just sounds like they're, first of all, they sound like cringe, annoying little kids, which they seem to be young. Second of all, this is just like a horny guy, you know. That guy. Okay.
That could be loosely interpreted as having to do with what she's talking about, but a few of them have also been deliberately cropped or context has been removed. And
oh shit.
So my
was she falling off and wanted attention?
Revolutionaries and I lied dormant, in wait of more news. We watched Michael be cast out into the abyss by his friends and associates, and most importantly his fans, calling him plenty of disgusting names that you probably wouldn't want to assign to anyone. In the middle of this controversy,
oh Jesus Christ,
reached out to Slazzo for his thoughts on the subject. His response was rather vague, but in sum, he said that the situation had been resolved months before. Che had expressed interest in getting back together, and there were things in her statement which were false, but he didn't want to rush to the topic. Rather,
I mean, that makes sense for him to take his time and before moving forward.
He chose to lie and wait to do it right. I tipped my fedora.
Okay.
Michael contacted me on May 27th prior to Jumbo Alert after learning that I was going to come forward with my experience with him. He did not deny the claims as shown in the attached screenshot. The screenshots and his response show that he has apologized to me multiple times and believed that me posting my experience would have no positive outcome for anyone.
I mean, him apologizing for something, and again, it seems like these are false accusations, but I guess we never know. But you apologizing for something doesn't mean... just because he apologized doesn't mean that what she's saying is accurate, right? You know, like, I could apologize to exes of mine. I could have been a better, person. I could be difficult to be with. That doesn't mean that, like, everything that they would potentially, in this hypothetical accuse me of would be accurate. I can apologize for being a shitty person in some instances. Doesn't mean that I fucking threw them off the balcony. They fell 40 feet and, broke their legs, right?
Nothing can justify what he did, as it still happened to me and he can't ever take it back. He says that things were lied or taken out of context, but never denies his actions and instead reiterates that he's apologized to me.
Screenshots of a
he sounds like he should have went harder on her.
Conversation were linked to the end of this, where Slazzo expresses that he doesn't feel that any of the information needs to be made public. Big surprise. Here, people continue to support Che, and all is well for her. The Reddit crew continued to clown on him, saying that they were planning to make a joke to clown on him in a video, and that innocent people don't stay silent for this long.
I think it's just stupid. When you're... in general, you want to think about these things, but when you're a larger content creator, it makes sense that you want to be very meaningful. Like, actually consider how you want to come forward, how you want to respond, so that you can make a meaningful, you can be meaningful about it. Especially since when you're on the receiving end and the public opinion's against you, you really only have one chance. When public opinion is in your favor, you can make mistakes and it won't matter as much. But if public opinion is against you and you make a mistake, like, you're fucked. They're gonna pick up that apart. So you have to really come forward with a very solid and meaningful perspective. And now, if you wait like a very long time, that could obviously be seen as a little suspicious. But taking some time to dot your T's and cross your I's makes sense.
The next day, Slazzo released his response.
But I do have plenty of evidence from very early on in the relationship where she clearly made no intention to wait until 16. Now, this confused me when I read it at first because it's not really how it happened.
How old was he? Like 18 or something, or 17?
In fact, she was actually the one who brought up the entire idea of doing anything in the cinema.
Ooh. I probably won't be there long enough this week. Oh well, but maybe we can have some fun in the cinema. I hope so. I hope so too. I can't wait to see you. Oh, okay. It sounds like she wanted to get freaky in the cinema. I mean, I've been there.
This video detailed how Che had lied about many of the things in her Twitlonger.
This isn't the impression that I was under. I was under the impression from these screenshots here that she's had at least 2 boyfriends and
oh shit, I'll take your word for it, blurry boy.
one girlfriend before we ever met.
The large amount of statements made in Che's Twitlonger contradicted screenshots that were provided in Slazzo's response, and unless you want to believe that they're all fake, which I highly doubt, then it's safe to say that Che lied about a large amount of what she said in her Twitlonger.
Yeah, and then when she lies about something significant, like the details of I wanted to wait or I didn't want to do it in the cinema, which are pretty significant details because it seemed like she tried to make it seem like, It appears that she tried to make it seem like he pressured her in the movie theater, and that was a big point of contention, or a big point there. So if that point gets debunked, that significantly defeats her story. You know, what color shoes she was wearing for the day is not a detail that necessarily matters. But a detail that does matter is the narrative of him like pressuring her into having some kind of like interaction.
Doesn't admonish Slazo of everything. He was obviously a bad boyfriend, and I don't doubt that at all, as Michael himself said it. And Che obviously does feel a lot of real pain about her relationship. But that doesn't
I'm just wondering what this has to do with ImAllexx. Okay,
make him evil or a bad person. It's no surprise that a 16-year-old's first relationship didn't go that well, and that there are a number of issues in it. It's a real shame that it didn't go well, but it's also clear that none of this ever needed to be publicized at all. And
yeah, well, it seems like this is content now, or I guess even back then. Because we make content out of not being the best person when you're a child, which is very interesting. Because I wasn't a great boyfriend when I was young either, you know, and I didn't have great girlfriends. They're not fundamentally bad people. We just don't know how to interact and set positive, healthy boundaries. And that's just kind of the way things are. You know, it is what it is, some would say. Thank you for the 18-month large gift from Hannah Witt. How you doing, Hannah? Hey, Papa, back in the Midwest after my first trip to the East Coast. I don't sleep well in hotels, so I listen to lots of Papa, but I can sleep to it. Playlist. That's very. I appreciate that. You have a playlist that you can. That's so boring of my videos that you fall asleep. No, I'm kidding. I figured it's my incredible soothing voice. Thank you, Hannah.
all these issues had been worked out privately before. Che decided to come forward with all the information, which obviously begs the question.
In this whole thing is, why would she lie?
Why would Che release this information?
I mean, I don't know, because I don't know these people. She's a content creator that wasn't really very good, and she had nothing else to talk about, so she decided to generate controversy over something like that. Like, she's boring. She was not getting the viewers or attention that she wanted, so she decided to generate some controversy. Maybe there was a part of the social narrative that, especially in 2020, I feel like that's when things really started to pick up, where people would look back through a lens of victimhood rather than like a lens of some form of personal responsibility. You know, I could look back at my past relationships, and I was mistreated, and I could be like, see, I was a victim. Or I could look back and go like, yeah, I was mistreated, and then I also mistreated my partner. And so like, what's the combination there? What's the productive conversation I can have about those interactions, and what can I come forward with? You know, like, I feel in the past that I've had my feelings diminished. Also, though, I express my feelings through, like, you know, anger, and I learned to suppress it instead of express it productively. So people didn't know where I was at emotionally, right? And so it's like, okay, you know what I mean? What can I talk about? How can I learn from my past? What are uncomfortable scenarios I've been in? You know, those are the types of conversations that you actually want to have with yourself. But it seems like there's a big... I mean, listen, again, this is 2020, but I feel like that's like the start of the I'm a victim of everything that exists type of a mental narrative. So I really wouldn't doubt that there is something there. So
Publicly about Slazo and say all these things that were blatantly untrue. Some would say for clout or e-fame, but there's really not much to gain from the situation. Even if Michael had genuinely done all of what she accused him of doing, she likely would only be momentarily relevant and then go back to enjoying the same audience that she had previously entertained on Twitter.
Maybe, but she may not have known that. Right? Like, she might have thought this was going to be like a huge thing for attention.
So let's analyze this a bit. At the beginning of the Twitlonger, Che states that
I had recently been hearing some comments from mutuals and friends that Slazo had been acting strange and had made some people uncomfortable.
The key part here is that Che had been told by people she was familiar with that he had been acting strange and making others feel uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, that sounds like everybody's been getting together and talking about this ImAllexx's guy, or not ImAllexx's, the other guy, Slazo, and they've formed their little hate party. You know how, like, sometimes you get together and you start talking shit about somebody, usually it's somebody you don't like, and then you kind of like you rile yourself up a little bit, you have a little fun. It seems like they did that but took it too far. Thank you for the $5 from Jack Esposito. Saw a sex worker thrown out of a car naked in the war zone last night. Gave her my clothes. Saint Vitalis of Gaza, please protect sex workers. Thanks, brother. Okay, all right, brother. You have a hell of a fucking life going on, man. I almost envy you. Very exciting stuff, man. Okay. Thank you for the $5, brother.
I needed to speak up.
She also states in the last line of the Twitlonger that she didn't want what happened to her to happen to other people. And while
yes, the martyr, the victim complex, the martyr complex, the You know, I just don't want this to happen to someone else complex, you know?
Meaning of this is somewhat muddied now that we know a lot of it was a straight up lie. We can infer that she meant that Slazo had the potential to take advantage of people or something along those lines. Back in the hacker room, me and the boys were hard at work trying to work out people's motivations for this and connecting all the screenshots together. And by reaching out to a few other members of the community, we managed to gather a large amount of evidence that painted a pretty accurate picture. First of all, I actually messaged someone on Twitter I know who knows a few of the main players involved in regards to the situation, hoping to get more info about it.
Is that Jay Aubrey?
They provided this screenshot, and through messaging a few other people and speaking to InAbber, I learned that this chat was essentially dedicated
InAbber? Wow. I even said yesterday that I think that ImAllexx's is just like the bootleg InAbber, or something along those lines, I said.
To Che, and people had been adding and removing various members of the community in the interest of spreading word around and informing them as to what was going on. I also learned that Che and Hyojin are best friends, which probably should have been obvious from the various tweets that Hyojin made that were some of the absolute worst offenses of anything that I have ever seen. A word of advice, Hyojin, I'd go back to begging for money for makeup.
Abuse can't be something that's swept under the rug. In the Instagram conversation you had with him, there's clear proof of him admitting to it, and even worse, prioritizing his reputation than making it up to you. Love you, Che. You're the strongest people I know. Wow, that's such a weird thing to say, I guess.
Instead of talking about anything remotely serious, I don't think you're very capable of it. It's interesting that no one else has come out in the heat of the situation to explain that Slazo has been acting weird, as this would be the time to provide evidence and explain their sides of the story.
Well, I mean, they didn't need to. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that they were just like jealous of this guy for blowing up in some capacity. And they all just didn't like him, and they're like, yeah, fuck it, let's kind of go after it. And they don't have to provide a lot of proof because the public narrative was against Slazo, it seems like, and you know, you get to be lazy.
If they were worried that Slazo had been trying to use them for some kind of gratification. But at this point, it's unlikely that these people actually exist, and more accurately, they were probably entirely fabricated as a means to smear Slazo and give Che motivation to speak out on this topic. Sure, it could have been King Ani or Blues Dank, and I'm willing to bet that they supported her and wanted her to get the word out, but I think...
Yeah, but it's also possible that they were cowards that weren't going to say anything against what she was saying, even if they felt strongly against what she was saying, because they'd rather maintain their careers than speak what their truth is, you know what I mean?
Hyojin probably played a larger role. Multiple people have told me that she's a pretty vindictive and toxic person behind the scenes. And, according to this screenshot, she was planning to ruin him and make sure that no one associated with him and get the entire...
Ooh, yeah, same. With events coming up, I want to make sure no one associates with him. Quite. Yeah, Che, do you have the first version of the post you said we're going to send? Quite. Oh, shit, isn't that a bad guy? I mean, a good guy? I don't know. Denise has new BF, guys. What if it's Slazo? That'd be funny, won't it? I'm pretty sure it's an IRL. She's gone the direction of sanity. That's ImAllexx's. Okay. Got the fucking dream team over here.
Community on board with backstabbing him before anything was even made public. Likely to try and make sure the story was straight across the board and that everyone was in line. After all, one crack in your narrative and it all falls apart. Which brings us back...
Wait, was Quite part of this too? Damn. Is he a bad guy in this? Wow.
To the Reddit crew, Neanderthal, and Avian. We have multiple examples of tweets from people like King Ani, and now deleted tweets from Dolan Dark himself explaining that this situation had been going on behind the scenes for an extended period of time, and that both of them had helped Che lie about something and come out.
Are we saying that this is an entirely, like, tactic where a bunch of people behind the scenes were, like, setting this guy up to try to ruin his life through, like, false situations? Wow.
Out about the abuse that she experienced while in a relationship with him. People like Dolan Dark, who publicly shamed him and supported the narrative that he was an abuser, and then when pressed on the issue, he said that she wouldn't lie because he knows her personally.
Yep, true.
This is the level we're on. That just because you feel that someone wouldn't act a certain way, that they don't.
Well, I mean, I tend to agree. I understand that, but like that's the nature of personal relationships, right? Is that you trust your friends more. They wouldn't do that. Because they're your friends, right? I get it on a fundamental level, but...
You're in denial. They're all in denial. You fucking pathetic idiot.
I don't want to
Who's this guy? He looks familiar. And a little soy. But not in a bad way.
believe that Shay is just an outright liar. Maybe Shay intentionally left out some stuff to demonize him more.
Well, Weast, my man, I'm sorry to say that. Just because you don't want to believe that she lied doesn't mean that she didn't lie. ImAllexx's, being the slippery fuck he is...
Well, I guess he hasn't changed. War. ImAllexx's. ImAllexx's never changes.
Actually acknowledged Michael's response publicly. He says that he wants to make it brief, but then spends 2 minutes saying basically nothing.
Michael's video has come out where he's debunked some of the things that were put in there.
Here, he also brushes over the fact that she lied as if it's a minor detail. How could you possibly side with someone who damaged a man's reputation and literally slandered him over a relationship that he had when he was 16 years old?
I don't.
He was also, so he was 16 and she was 15? That's crazy. I'm surprised people aren't calling that grooming. Like I said, I feel like we're getting to the point socially where soon you're going to have like fucking 14 like or 17 or 18-year-olds come forward about how they're pedophiles because they masturbated when they were 14. I raped myself. I raped myself. You know, like I just would not doubt it, man. It's crazy.
I don't think he's innocent at all. Che may not also be innocent and may have hid stuff and used jokes to try and maybe push a certain agenda. But at the same time, the stuff that Michael admitted to is stuff that makes me not want to be friends with somebody who is capable of doing those things.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, ImAllexx is clearly such a nice guy with high values and really respects his partners a lot. So for him to be a little sensitive and like not really want to associate with a guy who was not a perfect person at 16 makes sense for somebody who, you know, ritualistically abuses his partner and tries to have them generate an emotional trauma response dependency onto him. You know, that makes a lot of sense. He is a man of high values. By the way, he's also very smart. If you can see, he can barely formulate a singular sentence correctly through text message, but just so you guys know, you're illiterate, not him.
Even the things he admitted to.
Stop saying she's a 14-year-old. He was 16. There's nothing wrong with that, you fucking idiot. And to make one thing clear, staying silent for an extended period of time or not immediately denying something does not make you guilty of it. Stop pushing this narrative. By the same logic, you could say that Che was a liar because she stayed silent for so long. But of course, that would be disgusting.
Yeah, but I mean, they need as much... that sounds like an argument. Oh, he took a long time to come forward. He must be guilty. Sounds like a good argument. You know what I mean? It's just another thing to add into the pile of other allegations. You know, they're trying to make it seem like, see, but yeah, also, you know, he did this and this and this, but he also took a while to come forward. So look at all these different reasons why he's guilty.
Unreasonable for you to say. Tragic. You were also quick to condemn him. Why defend her when we knew that she not only embellished but lied? Literally lied to everyone. And
at that point, it makes sense to just stay quiet. You know what I mean? It does make sense. Everybody has like that confirmation bias. You know, you think a certain thing and then you have it in your head and it's like, no, I don't want to change my perspective. It takes more to change your mind than it did to convince you of the thing in the first place. But again, ImAllexx is not a human being, you know, so that's something a human does, but he's not human anyway. So
some of it could be true for all we know, but that doesn't really matter. How are we to trust anything she says when she...
It doesn't matter if some of what she's saying is true. What matters is he like an abusive person or was he just a shitty boyfriend? Those are the, that's really what we're trying to determine. It sounds like he was just he just sounds like he was a 16-year-old boyfriend. Like a typical shitty 16-year-old boyfriend.
Lied, and there's proof of it publicly. And barely anyone has apologized on the inside either. In fact, almost no one that was involved in the situation has apologized at all for casting out their friend. Quite kinda apologized, I guess.
It's interesting because I remember Quite had false allegations against him. And, you know, if I knew about this before, I still obviously would have said the right thing. But I'd almost say that this is karma, it sounds like, for you doing the same thing to somebody else. And then that happened to you, you know, and it makes sense that it would happen because that's the company you're keeping. You know, when you keep the company of, you know, pearl clutchy, virtue signaling fucking dipshits, you know, this kind of shit happens. So... you know, nobody deserves a false allegation, but you know, if Quite leveraged it against him, then I guess he learned his lesson. You know, so.
But you know, he hasn't really picked a side yet. Furthermore, Che is not helping anyone.
But also, maybe I'm a little ignorant to the specifics of the scenario.
Here, she's not helping Slazo by damaging his reputation and accusing him of something that will literally follow him for the rest of his life. She's not helping herself by lying about it to make herself look like more of a victim, and Michael look like more of a monster. And she's not helping other actual victims who don't lie about their situation. Just a few months ago, we saw James Charles be accused of something similar, and basically the same situation happened, save for one variable. He was accused of being a disgusting manipulator and using his power for his own gratification. These allegations were then proven to be false, and then everyone who had called him a disgusting manipulator had to apologize for being dumb.
Damn. I think he did some other sussy stuff after that, but, you know, we don't need to get into the specifics.
We think a lot of YouTubers should take a long look at that Tati video and take a long, hard look at themselves.
So is this guy Alex, though, always on, like, the receiving end of, or the giving end of just being shit, or what? Is that what's happening here? He's just constantly jumping onto stuff in some kind of breaking news capacity, and then like, oops, sorry guys, I made a mistake. Let me apologize. Because at like what point do the apologies become hollow? You know, I get people make mistakes and jump on things, but if you're consistently jumping onto topics that, and you're wrong about them, you know, the apology becomes almost just a virtue signal. It's like you're just going to talk about whatever you want for money, and then, you know, once the public narrative demands that you apologize, like, oh, sorry guys, look at me, I'm actually kind of a good person because I'm taking accountability. But it's like, are you really taking accountability by making the same mistake over and over and over and over again? That's something to think about.
The way that they treat their apparent friends. Rich, coming from the guy who backstabbed his friend as soon as things started looking bad for him instead of just messaging him. You lose.
I don't think that Alex has friends. I think that he has opportunities in his brain. Who, like, what's a person, what's like some kind of an opportunistic scenario that he can engage in? You know, like, oh, what can I? What's a person I can associate myself with for some kind of attention? You know,
loser.
Now let's discuss Che for a bit. Honestly, I'm not.
Is this a different person? Who the fuck's talking?
Really sure as to what her motives were in this scenario.
Or is Turkey Tom on a different mic?
It might have been for revenge, it might have been for fame, but I do feel that while Slazo most definitely did some scummy things to her, I feel like this situation should have stayed completely private. Because I think it's fairly obvious at this point that this situation isn't all what it was originally cracked up to be.
Well, yeah. It should have stayed private, obviously, but she seemed to have sensationalized it to try to make it a justifiable thing to come forward with. Because it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It seems like he might have been like kind of a shitty boyfriend. Like, who cares? Men being shit? What else is new? Am I right? Am I right, ladies? Am I right, ladies? I'm a male feminist. Send me your breasts. And don't cover your drink around me, because you know you're safe with a male feminist.
Slazo might be many things, but I think it's safe to say that being a full-on rapist is not one of them. And now all the drama-mongering idiots who decided to...
Yeah, he's not a man enough to rape someone. Okay, that was a weird joke to make. Sorry, guys.
Shove their nose...
I want to apologize to the entire Twitter community of women
into this situation are in full damage control mode, trying to salvage their respectability in any way that they can, even if it means doubling down. An argument that I have seen floating around is that the only reason Slazo is making a comeback is because he has more fans than her. Let me make something very clear. Che was backed by numerous YouTubers, or as our pal Bluestank put it, an entire community.
This Blue Stank.
He single-handedly caused Slazo to lose over 20,000 subscribers within the span of 2 weeks.
Nobody could ever have that happen to me because I don't even have 20,000. I'm just kidding.
He was tanking at least 1,000 subscribers a day on YouTube, and Twitter wasn't much better. Large YouTube creators with thousands of followers who combined probably had at least double the subscriber count that Slazo had were all retweeting Che and giving her their vocal support publicly. To say things like, oh, the only reason Slazo is gaining subs back is because he's more popular than she is so ridiculous to me, given the fact that almost everyone in the commentary community, both creators and fans alike, were completely on board with burying Slazo. Che might not have had as many Twitter followers.
It is interesting, because that's, I mean, I understand the argument of like, well, he was a big popular person, so people, you know, whatever. He's only winning the public conversation because he has more people believe him because he's a bigger content creator. But at the same time, the only reason you're really able to make these accusations against him is because he was a bigger content creator, and you seem to be kind of a nobody, you know? But
followers as
I mean, what do you really have to lose if people prove that you're wrong? Would she really like in anything? Or was she just like a nobody?
But she sure as hell had at least the same amount of, or potentially even greater,
maybe I'm wrong,
influence. Even if these YouTubers hypothetically had the best of intentions and just wanted to help their friend out, they still backstabbed another one of their friends without seemingly making any effort whatsoever to try and understand his side of the story.
Yeah, well, in their defense, I mean, look at what Super Mega did. They tried to be sensitive to both Lex and Dom, and you know, people still cried about them not having the perfect response, even though they tried to get to the bottom of it and make a reasonable, informed decision based on what they knew. So, you know, and then what happened with Lex turned out that she might have been sensationalizing her own accusations, which I don't think is unreasonable considering she lied about a ton of shit that was happening.
Now, to be fair, it is completely possible Slazo has done some messed up and shady things behind the scenes. Things that the average public viewer would have no idea about, like incidents involving other girls and so on. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, that he hypothetically did. If these things did happen, why isn't he in jail, or at the very least have been exposed for his scummy behavior before?
I mean, the jail thing, the argument against that would be like, oh, the criminal justice system isn't up to par when it comes to sexual assault. But You know, what is it that she said in sexual assault capacity? I mean, the only thing that we really read was the whole movie theater thing where she tried to make it seem like he was trying to fucking rape her in the theater, but she was the one who came up with the idea of fooling around in the movie theater, which is something that young people do all the time. You know? So I did it when I was young. I fooled around in movie theaters, you know, try to get that empty theater. You know, it's like, oh, public stuff is kind of hot, you know.
Before this,
I tried to do it at a beach once, and I just got sand in my, you know, the girl's vagina, and that was uncomfortable. So
situation unfolded. If he's really done what he is accused of doing to Che, to other women, then why is it that none of this information has been given to any sort of authority figure? I legitimately don't get it. Do these people not understand that maybe, just maybe...
Again, the authority conversation, I wouldn't be super focused on, because again, sometimes like the police can be not great with that kind of stuff. It's more of the she was caught lying about different narratives that really does it for me.
Maybe it would have been a good idea to report this to the authorities instead of making it into a twit longer.
That part's true, but yeah.
Only explanation that I have for this is that there simply isn't enough evidence to convict him of anything. And yeah, I'll admit that I am speculating a bit here, but I think the fact that they went to Twitter instead of the police says a lot about their mindset.
It might. That's totally possible. You know, it could, let's say that everything was true. They could just say about their mindset that they didn't think that the police were going to be effective, so they wanted to warn the public about him, which could be like an argument to be made. But again, the narrative seems to be disingenuous. So
most of the time, commentary drama is fairly harmless, but when it evolves into something as serious as false rape allegations is where I have an issue. Look, I understand wanting to support someone in their time of need, especially when
I don't. That's cringe.
It seems from an exterior standpoint that the person in question was taken advantage of by a person in a greater position of power than them. But you can't rush to conclusions in these types of situations. Yes, Slazo is a creep. Yes, he was a bad boyfriend.
Why was he a creep? What did he do that was creepy?
But he is not a rapist, and he certainly isn't a pedophile. Did any of these...
Oh, are people calling him a pedophile for dating like a 14-year-old at 15 or whatever? Gives a shit.
Commentary channels so much as reach out to Michael throughout this whole thing. You know, maybe before publicly accusing him of rape, maybe wait a bit and...
Bro, that paycheck from accusing people of, you know, assault is just too big for you to, you know, ask for details. That's crazy, bro. You got to jump on top of that story right now. You got to be the first one to come out with it. You got to jump on the hysteria, the well-meaning hysteria of people wanting to see content about particular bad people. You gotta get on. You can't even verify information. That's ridiculous. I'm just being stupid.
See if new information comes out from Slazo, or possibly DM him for his side of the story. No, they did none of...
You'd think that his friends would absolutely try to do that shit, yeah.
...of this, and instead they've gone off and made fools of themselves while everyone watches. There's always two sides of the story, and this has been proven time and time again, and yet they still don't seem to get it. No matter how solid the evidence may seem at first, you have to wait and be patient. Explore all sides.
Don't tell me what to do, pussy.
Before formulating an opinion. Jumping to conclusions and believing one side automatically is never the best course of action. Most scenarios aren't as black and white as some people would have you believe, and having these ridiculous hot takes will only serve to make you look, well, ridiculous.
Thanks for the advice, brother. Appreciate it.
King Ani said that she would still support her despite this. Weist completely glossed over the fact that Shade lied and didn't apologize for calling Slazo a fucking rapist.
Damn.
People are all disgustingly brain dead, and it hurts me to no end. Blues Dank came out with a somewhat decent take on Twitter, explaining that the situation was confusing and that he didn't know who to believe. But then he just deleted that and said, despite everything, Slazo's still a creep. And then he deleted that as well, and his state...
That's a guy? Okay.
Stayed silent on the issue since then. As other people in the community caught wind that I was going to talk about the situation on my channel, another person reached out to me who had actually lived with Hyojin for a decent amount of time. According to them, Hyojin is extremely manipulative, and she would pick up this person's dog and drop it on its back because she found it funny. Furthermore,
on its back? Jesus Christ, was it a dachshund? Because they have bad backs.
Once she moved out of this person's apartment, she lied to multiple people and said that our source had abused their dog instead of her. And here's a DM where this person confronted someone else who was lied to.
So they seem to be aware what they're doing is abusive. That's weird. What the fuck?
About it, and they seem to acknowledge that Hyojin should be taken with a grain of salt. It's interesting that 3 separate people who I talked to about her use the word psycho to describe her personality, completely independently of each other.
You know, that's just typical female behavior if you think about it, though.
See, initially, ImAllexx was all hush-hush about this situation. He didn't tell anyone anything. His lips were sealed. But when a few large creators with influence became involved and went against the narrative that Alex was trying to push, he cracked. He had 2 Discord calls with smaller members of the community, each over 4 hours long. He spilled some interesting interesting information, some of which was completely unrelated to the topic at hand, and I don't even know if it's true, and I don't have a way to verify it. So I won't go around spreading it and pretending like I do know it's correct, but
Alright, stop.
Well, some friend you are, Alex. What were you thinking? As soon as he starts to feel the heat, he spills it all like the little rat he is.
Damn, Alex, you seem like kind of a bad guy. Hopefully in the future, 4 years after the situation's over, you learn from these experiences and become a better person.
And to wrap up this video, normally this is when I say I don't hate any of the people involved and I don't have a problem with them personally, but no, I absolutely do.
I think it's okay to hate people. I try not to hate too many people, but this ImAllexx's guy just reads as a fucking creep. His actions are creepy. He seems to be a disingenuous, slimy little fuck. And you know, especially after what we saw, I don't know, what he looks like makes sense to me, if that makes sense, you know. Obviously, don't judge a book by its cover, but I think that Alex is the type of person that you go, if you did judge a book by this cover, maybe you could have protected yourself.
We've seen time and time again that people are accused of doing things that just are not true, and it's extremely disappointing that people are still believing this shit. Think before you speak. Wait before you make someone out to be something.
Think before you sleep, is what I say.
They're literally not. I've been Chicken Chad. Thanks for watching, and leave me alone.
Okay. What the hell else is the rest of this video? Oh, it's like a fan art thing. Okay.
First, thanks so much to all of my supporters.
All right, cringe outro. All right, interesting stuff.